about Lance Armstrong here. Hincapie looks calm and collected over there. Armstrong, face does not give anything at all away. He's in control. He's looking at the wheel of the riders in front of him. The man behind him there is Jaroslav Popovic. He's the man that will be called upon towards the summit of this climb to turn up the cranks just a little bit. But Armstrong must feel a little bit concerned about Michael Rasmussen, who's only 38 seconds behind him in the overall race.
Well, just looking here towards the back of the field, you get the idea of how the pace has been stepped up now. Sebastian Joly just hanging on. And number 86 here is Chris Horner of the United States. He had a great day today. He was in the move on the previous climb, but he now could be in a little bit of trouble hanging at the back of the group. That's a very select peloton. You need to go 3 minutes up the road to find Alexander Vinokourov. We race around the escarpment of the Col de Galibier, the highest mountain in this part of France.
Well, Vinokourov has really turned up the cranks a fraction here, because a few moments ago he was in the company of Santiago Botero, who is there. He was in the company of Oscar Pereira, and he has blown them both away, and he's setting an incredible pace, still holding on to his gap. In fact, he's just extended it by a few seconds to 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I have to feel now, Phil, that Armstrong must start to react, because he can't let a man like this pull back that much time on one day.
3:15, plus there's a small time bonus to be had on the way to the finish at Moulin-Baron. He's taken 6 seconds already, so he could get 32 seconds in time bonuses, plus the 3 minutes over the field. What does that do?
Could pull him right up into between 4th and 5th place, in between Christos Moreau and Alejandro Valverde, completely back in the race. And that would put a big threat onto the shoulders of riders like Basso and Michael Rasmussen. Michael Bogard is a man who has been in this group for a long time. He was there holding on as long as he could to look after the man who's second overall, Michael Rasmussen. But we're now starting to see a serious sorting out in the group. I've got a funny feeling now, Phil, that the pressure is starting to be really cranked up.
Well, what a great battle we are now seeing here. Remember, the Col de Galibier also gives us the big prize, $6,000. That's about £4,500. The Henri Desgrange prize, the man that founded the Tour de France, is always awarded to the first rider over the highest climb of the race route. And this is it, the Col de Galibier. And there's a tribute on the Col de Telegraph to Henri Desgrange.
Bonjour, c'est Christophe Moreau et on se retrouve sur le Tour de France après les pubs.
Alexander Vinokourov is past the 5 kilometers to go. The sign over there says 102 years. The Tour de France has been around since 1903, and Vinokourov is the latest of a long line of great men who have ridden this mountain, the Col de Galibier, and he's riding it very, very quickly now. Valois is where the climb starts, and that's at the foot, depending which way you go, of course, of the Col de Telegraph.
One rider is setting the race on fire. It's Alexander Vinokourov. He's got a 42-second advantage over the second rider on the road, and this is him. This is Santiago Botero, the rider from Colombia, who in the past has ridden the World Track Championships, and the King of the Mountains winner here too.
That little group down there now, Paul, is getting to be very, very select indeed. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, about 17 riders, and 4 of them are on the same team, Discovery.
Discovery Channel have certainly bounced back from what happened to them on the slopes of the Col de Schlucht on the road down into Gérardmer last Saturday. I think it was maybe a ploy to lower the defenses of everybody else, because as soon as we came into the mountains, everybody rode to absolute and utter perfection. Hincapie here is the man of April, the man of March, the man of the one-day classics in the north of France, the races where the weather is disgusting, the roads are terrible, but here he knows how to excel himself on the roads of the Tour de France and become a climber for his team leader. There's Eddie Mazzolini at the back in the blue jersey of Team Lampre. Levi Leipheimer looking comfortable. 31 is Francisco Mancebo.
42.5 kilometers left to ride. We are getting closer to the top. What a prize this will be, apart from the fact it will earn him quite a lot of money for topping the highest climb of the Tour de France. $6,000 American is the first prize today on top of this mountain. They're not thinking money, they are thinking of glory. These boys, professional cyclists, frankly, never look at the prize list.
The most important thing, as you say, is the legends. That's what the Tour de France is about. The Alps and the Pyrenees create legends of our sport, and we're seeing a legendary ride by Alexander Vinokourov here this afternoon. He is probably the only man from T-Mobile who has bounced back and come out with an aggressive attitude.
Well, this will go a long way to heal the wound after the team was severely criticised by their manager, Walter Godefroot, who said, "My team is no good." And, well, he selected it, so he's got to take some of the blame, I suppose. But to say that in the press about your team, it takes a bit of swallowing. There is the zigzags to the top of the Col de Galibier. Normally, the barren rock is covered in snow for most of the year. We should still see a lot of it around as we go down.
We should see a fair amount of it down. In that year, in 2003, by the way, when Alexander Vinokourov won that stage into Gap, he went on to finish in 3rd place overall.
Well, this has been a climb and a half for him, because they started with about 2:45 the Gap. It's now 2:59. It went out to 3 1/4. Vinokourov is riding superbly, but they don't want to push him. He'll get a penalty for that.
The amazing thing about the sport of professional cycling is the fans definitely turn out from all of the different nations. We've seen Danes, we've seen Americans, we've seen the French and the Belgians and the Germans at the side of the road. But they encourage each and every one of these riders, because most of them know what sort of pain they're going through. There's a Kazakhstan flag at the side of the road.
It's the first one I've seen, Paul. The flag of Kazakhstan. It has a bright yellow sun in the middle of that turquoise flag, and that'll give him some support now.
It will give him some support now, because he's probably carrying the hopes of a nation on his shoulders as he gets slowly but surely to the summit of this climb. Unfortunately, though, once he gets to the top of the climb, he's still got 40 kilometers to go to the finish. Fortunately, most of those are downhill.
Slip in the top gear, take a few risks, I think, is the order of the day. And he should do 40 kilometers, which is 25 miles, in probably around 40 minutes today.
He will hammer down the slopes of this climb away from the Galibier. He goes down to the top of the Col de Lautaret, and then it's a very fast descent. Not such a technical descent once he gets to the Lautaret, where he'll be able to touch speeds of pretty close to 70 or 80 kilometers an hour.
Just over 1 kilometer remains of the climb of the Col de Galibier. He's going to win the prize. He's going to be first over the top. Botero was with him at the bottom. So too was Pereiro. They got dispatched. These are the determined riders now of Discovery, while all of the others still follow Lance Armstrong. He hasn't made a move, but there's going to be one terrific chase once we get over this mountain.
It'll be a huge chase, and I wonder if Alejandro Valverde will get his teammates up to the front. He's got Francisco Mancebo in the group, because if they could ever bring back this man, Valverde would be the great man to take out the sprint. 2 stage wins back-to-back, but they're going to have to do something extraordinary special to catch this man from Kazakhstan. He's looking now. There it is. There's the banner which indicates 1 kilometer to go.
1,000 meters to top the climb. He'll be profiting by the tune of $6,000 extra. That's a bonus plus the prize as well. He'll do very well for the team, but in more thinking now of doing very well for himself. He's got 40 kilometers downhill. The hill has eased a little bit here, and still they paint the flags of Norway on the rocks, although it's actually a big flag, as Vinokourov of Kazakhstan, the champion of his country for the first time in his career. He's only ever won 1 stage of the Tour de France in his life. He's finished 3rd overall to Lance Armstrong. Armstrong has always said how worried he was about this rider, but yesterday I believe Armstrong must have thought he'd finished him off.
Well, I think he put enough time between himself and Alexander Vinokourov as he wanted to, but today Alexander Vinokourov is grabbing back about 3 minutes. This is back in the team cars, and this is one of the teammates of Ivan Bassa. I think it's Carlos Sastre who will pick his way back up through there to try and hand a drink over to his team captain. Now at the back of the group here, I'm looking through to see if I can see the Lotto jersey of Cadel Evans, and I couldn't see it.
Well, they're saying he's in there. We've had no camera to prove it or not prove it, so let's hope he is, because he's the top Australian rider at the moment. As now the road narrows and he climbs to the summit. Alexander Vinokourov, as he races towards the summit of the top of the Col de Galibier. The trees on the horizon don't grow because they're people just trying to get a look at the race going by. They're cutting their way through now, and the adrenaline must be pumping through him. 1/3 of a kilometer to go.
How happy is he going to be when he gets over to the summit of this climb? The people have turned out. Most of these people actually camped out last night so they could witness the Tour de France going over its high spot, the Col du Galibier. And this man who started off his life in a French team, Team Casino, a little shake of the hands there. He knows he's got himself to the summit, but I wonder if he knows just how close behind him Santiago Botero is.
He might. but he's over the top, first place, and he wins the Honorary Grand Special Prize of the year for the highest spot of the Tour de France. And look at this now, Michael Rasmussen. He is turning out to be one superstar, this boy. We didn't see him go, but he's gone.
Well, Armstrong dare not let Michael Rasmussen take too much of an advantage, because Rasmussen is only 38 seconds behind Armstrong in the overall classification. Here is Botero now, whipping his way through the crowd. He is thinking about trying to make contact with Vinokourov at the front, while behind there's a little bit of drama coming into this race for Armstrong.
Rasmussen has begun to believe in himself. He's a king of the mountains so far, but he's only second, 38 seconds behind Lance Armstrong. And there's bonuses at the finish today. Here he comes, 31 years of age he is, but he's a newcomer to the world of road racing, a former world mountain bike champion. Michael Rasmussen is something else this tour. He has found legs that we've never seen before. He is racing to the summit now, currently in third place. He's showing Christophe Moreau why he needn't have bothered for the earlier points.
Absolutely, but what he's also doing is riding away from Lance Armstrong. Armstrong won't panic, though, because, Phil, there's 40 kilometres to go from the summit of this climb all the way down into Briançon, and Armstrong has still got 3 very strong teammates around him, so he'll be able to chase down this man. But if you remember a couple of days ago, when he escaped on the road into Mulhouse, Jens Voigt and Christophe Moreau couldn't pull him back.
And it's worth remembering that right now there's about 15 riders left in the peloton, the select 15 boys, right up the slopes there. In amongst the crowd somewhere is Michael Rasmussen. Sitting here at the back of the race is number 23, which is Bobby Julich, and he again confirms that this is one American with some good form this year, riding alongside his team captain Ivan Basso. He's staying in a top flight position in the Tour de France. Cadel Evans is also down there, riding very, very well now. Looking into this group, Leonardo Pipoli is the boy in yellow. He again is sending a big surprise for his team. This man, the Dane, and there's all the Danish countrymen, they've all pulled on the polka dot jerseys. He gained a couple of days before the rest day. He comes up to the summit, he'll go over in third place, but more importantly, this man could be the next leader of the Tour de France.
Well, let's see what the clock stops at there. It's 2:24 for this man, who has a 38-second deficit on Lance Armstrong. And Christophe Moreau, despite the fact that Rasmussen has gone, is going out to try and get himself a few more points. But I think we're going to be in for a fairly hairy chase on the descent of this mountain, because as we cross the line there, it's 2:42, so he's pulled back a good 20 seconds on Lance Armstrong.
Bonjour, je suis Alexandre Vinokourov. On sera après les petits pubs.
Botero will see occasionally Alexander Vinokourov. We'll see him, he nearly caught him. There he is, Alexander Vinokourov in the sights of Santiago Botero. Got rid of him on the way up, coming together on the way down.
Well, he wiped out 45 seconds there very rapidly, and he did it at exactly the right time, because he's just now coming into the summit of the Col du Lautaret. If you were to turn right there, you would head across to Grenoble. If you turn left as rapidly as Santiago Botero did, you're heading straight down now to Briançon.
If you turn right, of course, you climb the Col du Lautaret. This is the best way they're going now. The crowd at the crossroads there have been waiting an awful long time to see the Tour riders. You heard the cheers. That's a very dizzy shot, isn't it, as they make that sharp right. This is a big road now as they race down into Briançon. Then they go almost bypass the town and circle back into it. And there's a huge crowd waiting for them. It's not our regular finish in Briançon. We very often finish uphill. This is a flat finish.
As we look back here, there's Oscar Sevilla coming up. You can see these. There's Roberto Heras coming up as well.
Way down.
You can see these riders putting the newspaper up the front of their jerseys. Well, newspapers are made out of wood, and wood is one of the best conductors in the world, and it actually stops the cold going through these very light jerseys the riders wear in these mountain stages.
Paul Sherwin would never have known that if he hadn't majored in newspaper technology at Manchester University. I thought you'd all like to know that.
Ah, thanks, Phil. Good man. Hincapie on the front, doing a great job. And the whole of the team are moving up to the front here to do what they can to make sure they limit the advantage there of the two riders off the front, Alexander Vinokourov and Santiago Botero. Great job by George Hincapie today.
Hincapie's an outstanding man. He's the only rider on the team. He's been on the team for every one of Lance Armstrong's victories. He's had the opportunity to be offered big time with the big teams and who had probably delivered him some big wins for himself, he said no. He stayed with Lance throughout his career.
But at a race like this, at the Tour de France, I don't think George Hincapie actually thinks about his own personal glory. He doesn't think about winning individual stages. He's dedicated to one thing, as are the 8 other riders on Discovery Channel. He is dedicated to riding for Lance Armstrong. This is rather sad for the Basque supporters, because this is Iban Mayo coming up to the summit of the climb. He's lost himself more than a quarter of an hour.
Look at the faces of Armstrong now and of Rasmussen, and all the pain is being caused by Armstrong's team. Jan Ullrich there trying to get some lunch down, but it's being interrupted by this high speed. Everybody's scrabbling for wheels here now, and it's all Team Discovery.
Well, it's also Il Balearis moving up to give a bit of a hand, maybe for Alejandro Valverde. Oh, this is a bit of a problem here. Now, this is one of the transponders that all the riders are forced to wear by the organization, and that transponder there is looking rather loose. Now, if that transponder was to flick up, it would go right into the wheel, the back wheel of Alexander Vinokourov. Now, he dare not stop here to change his bike, because if he does, then there's no way that he'll catch back up to Santiago Botero. This is a massive risk he's going to have to take, and just hope that that doesn't come out, because he does not deserve to lose the stage like this. Look at that. You can see it just bobbing about. And what is happening? It's actually flicking into the wheels and the spokes of the wheel and getting flicked back out again. He certainly doesn't want to have to change his machine at this stage of the game, because these riders, although they're holding on to a big advantage over the peloton, if he had to stop for any reason at all, he would see the race stage disappear from him. Oof. I'm not sure. Well done, that man. I tell you what, that man deserves a beer this evening, because moving along at 60 kilometers an hour and cutting off that transponder, he could have lost 4 fingers. I've seen riders in the past trying to adjust the quick release lever at the front or adjust their brake at the back, and they've put their fingers into the wheels. Now, don't try doing that when the spokes are going round at 45 miles an hour. Woof, well done. This is the autobus, as they call it. This is the group of riders just surviving. Now, they are looking at an awful long way to go to the finish. They won't be eliminated today. It's still a long way down to the line. Look at the faces here of all of these guys who know that the only thing left in their legs this afternoon is to get down to the finish line and to get down into Briançon.
And 30 years to Thévenet, indeed it is. He won the Tour de France, Bernard Thévenet, in 1975. That was the first time, by the way, the Tour de France finished on the Champs-Élysées. It's finished there every year since, and Bernard commentates here for French television. The face here of Santiago Botero. Alexander Vinokourov, even when he suffers, this man never looks bad. As they race now behind our commentary position, we could just about see them by the television camera motorbikes, which means that they will now make the sharp turns to line up for the finish. They're running down the river here in Briançon.
Well, they are still pushing. Neither rider actually shirking the pace, and I think that goes back to the fact that they spent a couple of years together. They were on the same team. They don't want to play any dirty tricks on each other. They will ride it down and sprint it out man for man. They will share the pacemaking up until the final moment. You can see Santiago Botero is seriously grimacing in second position there. These riders have made a great effort this afternoon. They are looking now at these kilometers as they tick by, and the kilometers are ticking by at 1 minute and 4 seconds. That's 60 kilometers an hour, and still they are not desisting, because they know that Armstrong's group is closing back on them to 1 minute and 30 seconds.
The last time we came here in 2000, it was the rider in second position who won, Santiago Botero. We're now looking for the 2 kilometer point, and these two are looking for the 1 kilometer point now as we race into the town. And Santiago Botero trying to be a man to do the double. He has yo-yoed on and off the leaders all day. He finally got back to Alexander Vinokourov, and they have come off the mountains together. They are 1:35 ahead of Lance Armstrong and his group, so they are taking time back. But right now, they're more concerned with who gets the win.
That's what the game is all about here. As they take this left-hand bend, they're lining themselves up for the finishing straight. There's a roundabout to go through. Then there you can see the Flamme Rouge over the finishing line. That will indicate there's 1,000 meters to go. And once they get under that, the road will bend round a fraction. But they know now that the race is won. They know the race is in the bag. But who is going to take it? I have to think it's going to be Mr. number 19.
Well, what a wonderful crowd here. Two great riders in the true history of the Tour de France today. Besançon has seen all the finest winners over its history, the 32nd time that the Tour has finished here, and these two boys have lifted the reputation in the mountains. It's a shame that one of them has to lose now, and it looks as though Vinokourov is going to manoeuvre Santiago Botero into the lead. They're both okay sprinters. They're far from being the big sprinters that we normally see, so it's much more difficult for them. Vinokourov, he should be working at a casino. His face never tells you anything. He takes a look at Botero. Botero is just looking at his front wheel here, waiting for him to make the move. He just keeps staring at that wheel. The minute that Vinokourov jumps, Botero will go with him. There's a tense moment. He's easing him slightly to the centre. They're now bringing up the speed to the line. Vinokourov is about to make his move, and Botero, I think, is ready for him. This is going to be an amazing finish. We're almost on the finishing line here, as now the puffing and blowing of Alexander Vinokourov, and I don't know if Botero has got it. No, he hasn't. Vinokourov is coming clear, and he's going to get a well-deserved victory here. The man of the day, the man of the Tour today, and he is the winner on the line. Well done, Alexander Vinokourov.
What a superb move there by Alexander Vinokourov, but a very tactical move too. And I'll tell you one thing, they lost a little bit of time over that last 500 metres, but Vinokourov gets himself the 22nd time bonus, but I think he was really only worried about the sprint at the end of the day. And look at this, Armstrong's troops are still leading them up to the finishing line. On the front, 4 riders from Team Discovery Channel. Armstrong is very much there in 4th place. You can just see Acevedo swinging off there. Paolo Salvadelli now taking it up. George Hincapie right up there as well. Everybody very happy, I think, Phil, to be in this group here this afternoon. It's not going to be a fast sprint, this, but I would suspect that Alejandro Valverde shouldn't be too very far away from it. Hincapie takes up the pace-making. Armstrong is looking very attentive there.
Well, as Hincapie is still trying to finish this off for Lance Armstrong, there's still a 3rd place bonus at stake, which would a little bit nullify the win bonus of Vinokourov. Even Rasmussen trying to get in now. The white jersey of Alessandro Valverde is in a bad place. He's tucked off to the right of our picture. Hincapie coming now as they go through now. Is Valverde going to get himself out? He's chosen Dan Ulrich's wheel to burst forth. This is going to be a finish for Lance Armstrong. As he comes up to the line, he sits up and he lets Christophe Moreau take the 3rd. I think it's Basso or Bobby Julie. Basso, I think, gets 4th.
Well, Alexander Vinokourov put in a great sprint all the way to the line today, not realising that he was the only one in it. Botero knew he was beaten and had long since conceded. In fact, there was enough of a gap that the commissaires put in a time split between them, and with the bonuses he gained along the way, Vinokourov ended up with 1:45 over Armstrong and the chasing group, which included Ulrich, Klurden, Basso and the rest. Well, Vino scored a hat-trick today, stage winner, Combativité prize for the most aggressive rider, and €5,000 in the Souvenir Henri de Grange for being first over the Galibier. A good day's work, albeit a day late when Armstrong could afford to let it go.
Oui, c'est vrai, mais bon, je n'étais pas les bons jours hier. J'ai dit que je vais attaquer aujourd'hui. Surtout, je les donne peut-être le moral à l'équipe de mobile pour attaquer dans les Pyrénées.
Et Vino, vous étiez avec Santiago Botero, vous le connaissez très bien. J'imagine que vous savez que vous allez gagner l'étape comme vous étiez avec lui cet après-midi.
Bon, tu sais jamais sûr, mais bon, je savais que je suis un peu plus fort dans le sprint que lui. J'ai dit je vais le tenter maximum pour gagner cette étape.
Behind Vino, in fact behind pretty much everyone, was a very large autobus today, and in it Tom Burnham and Robbie McEwen. Not in that group though was yesterday's yellow jersey Jens Voigt. He came in alone and in a bit of a state, nearly 47 minutes down. Sadly for him and for the rest of us actually, because he's such a great bloke, that was outside the elimination time, so Jens Voigt is out of the Tour, and so is Kevin Hulsmans of Quick Step, who was another 45 seconds behind him. Now, there are a couple of changes to report in the general classification. You saw Christophe Moreau beat the Discovery boys in the sprint for 3rd place, and the bonus seconds he picked up there move him ahead of Ivan Basso into 3rd overall. Santiago Botero has moved into the top 6. The time gaps to Ulrich, Klurden and Landis remain the same, but Vinokourov is now up to 12th, 4:47 behind Armstrong.
The way your team has transformed itself, quite extraordinary. How do you explain that since Saturday and the way they've been riding the last 2 days?
You know, Saturday,
I mean, a lot of people talked about Saturday and the disappointment that we saw. But Saturday is very different than what we see now, and I think the boys were caught by surprise then. I think we were too confident. We had probably worked too much in the first week. But these climbs that we're doing now are very different than the climbs we did on Saturday. And on the contrary, I mean, all of the questions that say, how can the team turn around so quickly? We could also ask the same questions about the people that were in the front on Saturday. Why aren't they on the front now? So I think the boys were so focused on getting through the first week and then getting to the Alps. All of a sudden, this day popped up in the middle that was a lot harder than they expected. And they were caught off guard, and guard was down, and they got popped, and it happened. It wasn't pretty. I didn't like it. Nobody liked it, but they're pros. I mean, they're all champs, and they were more upset than I was or Johan was, and you should have seen their faces that night. They were clearly disappointed.
Well, looking at his face, I think Lance feels like he's had enough questions on that subject, but Chris, his team really is still the topic of the tour.
I think it's the strongest team I've ever seen, never mind in this Tour de France, and it must be very, very comfortable for him going into these stages that he's surrounded by people who can do a job like that. George Henkepi literally led it over the Col de Galibier.
Are we clutching at straws looking ahead to the Pyrenees, or is there still a chance that this race could be up for grabs?
There's some nasty stages to come. Stage 15 particularly sees them go up a number of climbs all day with another summit finish. That'll be hard to control, and if we can get riders to behave the way Vinokurov did today, well, yeah, I think we've got some more excitement to come.
All right, well, I think you know the end of programme drill by now. It's your chance to be in Paris with us on July the 24th for the final stage of this year's race by entering our competition. Now, don't forget, coming right up, almost unbelievably, is the start of Liverpool's Champions League campaign. The first leg of their tie with TNS will be live after the break, and we will be back at our usual time of 7 o'clock tomorrow with stage 12. None of today's massive mountains on the stage, but the kind of rolling, relentless day that would suit a breakaway specialist like, I don't know, Alexander Vinokurov. See you tomorrow.